What's going on, guys? Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Levels podcast with me, Joe, and my VP, the right-hand man, Joey. Basically, guys, we started this podcast. It's called Levels because we want to give you a little bit of an insight into not just the brand projectAD, not just our businesses, but more into how mine and Joey's relationships developed and how there's levels to everything that you do, be it in business, be it in relationships, be it in bodybuilding, whatever there is, there's challenges and you've always got to level up. And we've been going through this continuously like every one of you will in life. So we want to share our experiences and what it's like to run a company, what it's like to identify potential, to nurture potential, to realize potential, and take you on a journey of the business side, what it's like to coach people, what it's like to be a competitive athlete. Every aspect of our lives we're going to be sharing with you. So welcome. And the first episode is going to be a little bit of me and Joey giving you some background and a little bit of recap of 2023 because it was one hell of a year, especially for my main man, who I'm going to let speak a little now because 2023 was a year where Joey really started to realize the potential that I saw in him from the start. So I don't know if Joey wants to start with from a business perspective or from his competitive side with his bodybuilding career or from his coaching side. I'll rock over to him and let him speak.
Love it, love it. So, give you guys a little bit about me. I won't like dive in too quick and like go too hard into the details of everything. Over the course of years, I've been blessed to really be able to diversify myself in the fitness world and the fitness industry. I've been with Project AD for going on 5 years. With also being so, I've also owned my own nutrition store, which I have shopped in since I was 16 years old and actually had the ability to end up taking it over with my business partner. And I'm now going to be 33. So it's pretty wild to just like be in a perspective where like this was my childhood supplement store because I've been born and raised in Reading, Pennsylvania, to now walk into the store that is now mine. So it's kind of crazy. But along with that, with owning a supplement store, I also have been coaching. I do anything from athletes, competitive, all the way down to your lifestyle coaching, guys, girls, 16, 17, all the way up to 50s. I've been doing it since 2017. I started coaching more so as just like a hobby. Like I got into really the whole fitness world and like, I guess you could say like it like almost like I engorged myself into it because I feel like typically in a couple terms of people's lives or whatever people do, they might get into something, but maybe not fully get into it or they don't fully commit. But like I was in all aspects. When I got into the fitness industry, I had myself a coach at that point in time named Johnny Castellina, as well as I was starting to work for my first ever quote unquote brand, which I was just a demo rep for, which was crazy. And then as well, I was so intrigued and so just wanting to know as much as I could. So I was reading books, I was listening to podcasts. And it's so funny for the people that do know me, because before the fitness, I worked for 7.5 years in a battery manufacturing plant, working in 115-degree heat, as well as when I was doing my demo rep job, I did that part time. So I would leave the factory job and I would go do demos. But it's crazy because, for the people that there's a couple people in my area, and I know that this will hit home because they always watch my stuff and they always do, they always follow along with me. I was the kid who would sit in the lunchroom. My dad would cook me my nice little meals. Shout out to my pops. And I would literally read books. And I remember I had 1,000-page NASM book that I was reading from start to finish. It was almost like I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I had to get out of manufacturing. I knew that was not me. I was not just another number that would scan in and scan out. So like coming from that side of the perspective, starting there, and then fast forwarding now almost like a total of like 8 years, I am now engorged into like fitness and lifestyle and coaching. Like this is my world, this is my life. And like I said in my video yesterday on Instagram, like this is the first thing I think ever in my life that I felt like this is what I was supposed to do. Like this was my purpose. So giving you guys all of that, right?
I
2023
think
was
the key
probably,
learning point there, Joey, as well for the synergies for the guys. Like that's the first key point. Joey was working a factory job, but he was reading and learning about something he was passionate in. I didn't walk into this industry. I'm a farm boy. I'm from England. I grew up on a farm. I knew I didn't want to grow up and work on the farm. And my parents live on the farm. My mum died working on the farm. My dad still is on the farm. They never had a day off. We never had a day's vacation. I knew I didn't want that life for myself. Joey knew he didn't want that life for himself. So nothing comes easy. This is why we call this a Levels podcast. We're just hitting home straight from the get-go. If there's something you know you don't want to do, chances are it ain't going to be given to you. You're going to have to take a big fucking risk and back yourself. And that's something that he's done. That's something that I've done. And anyone who's successful in any walk of life will have taken risks and backed themselves, even when everyone around them have probably told them they're going to fail. Just like Joey had no one that believed in him except maybe your mom, right? Same as me. My mom. My whole family was against me setting up my own business. Everyone was against that. So for any of you who are watching that, you're going to get challenges. And if you want to be successful in life, just buckle up because it's going to be one hell of a ride. And you're probably going to be riding solo for a hell of a lot of it.
yeah, man, because it's even getting into the industry and getting into the things, like it was almost like, I've always, and the good thing is about this Levels podcast, like Joe said in the beginning, like we're going to dive into so much stuff on this podcast, guys and girls. Like it's everything from the bodybuilding stuff, because we all know, like, because this is what we are gorged in, this is our life, this is our culture. Yes, we will dive into that. But me and Joe want to do a podcast that was completely different. We wanted to bring business. We have so many plans for the guest appearances on here. We didn't just want to give you our bodybuilding channel. There's plenty of those. We want to give you something that you can take away, something that can provide value, and as well something you can tune in and just listen when you're on your way to work or when you're on your lunch break. But hands down, how I was just, I was working at the factory and I was reading my books and I was listening to my podcast. I did the same thing even in the factory world. Like when I was at Deca, I started off as just this basic, it's called pasting, which is you're scraping the top of clay plates that go inside of a battery. Like I started there on third shift, but like, I busted my ass and I was able to get myself into like working a robot on third shift, then getting myself to be on first shift in another department. So like I've always leveled up, but then once I got to that first shift, it was almost like I made it. Like I did it. I got to first shift. Like I got a normal life. I could make decent money, but I got a normal life. But then that's when I really realized like this is not me. And everybody that knows me that used to work at Deca, I would come into work already pissed off. I would come into work already hating the job. Just because like if any of you guys and girls are ever in a position where you feel as if you're just a number, if you are just a number, no matter if you invest your time, which is the most valuable thing, or you're just another number in your job, or you're just another number to your partner or your relationship, or whatever the case may be, if you are just another number, then you need to figure out how to not be just a number. And that's what I was doing from the start. So then once I was studying and doing my thing, that didn't just take me to the top. I was fortunate enough, and I will always remember this moment. I was walking from building to building. I had my cell phone out, and I'm scrolling through Instagram. And the brand back then was GAT Sports. It's when Nitroflex was crazy. It was the biggest brand in the world, right? Sadiq was there, it was crazy. I seen this message that said they were hiring for a PA demo rep. I had no idea, guys and girls, what the hell a PA demo rep was, but I knew I was trying to get in the industry. I just want to put my foot in the door somewhere. So then I ended up having this call with my old boss, Joe Vesper, at that point, and I became a demo rep for PA. But now that I got my foot in the door, and I feel like, the passion and everything else, and I don't know, maybe my work drive, I don't really have a thing to really put on it, but I got the job. Now I'm going to make moves. I know you guys might not know this, and for sure you probably definitely don't. But when companies bring people to expos, they don't want guys. Okay. And this is just a shooting a spade a spade. They want good looking girls to be at the booth to draw attention and to also, it makes the booth more of, draws more attention. That just is what it is. Whatever anybody wants to call it, it is what it is. I was the only male demo rep that GAT ever brought to the Arnold and paid for me to be there. Because when I was a demo rep, I would go to new stores. I would drive 2.5 hours away up to the top of PA, or I would drive almost down to the border of Jersey. I was going into stores and I was offering to do demos for free. And I was actually creating these stores into wholesale accounts for my manager. And he would open them up and he would just collect the orders. So I actually opened up accounts, which is literally not even my job. So they eventually ended up taking me to the Arnold. This is how I started to move up in just that setting. I ended up getting an opportunity, and I'll literally say it because I do respect this man more than more than he would ever know. And now I'm in the position of being with Joe and learning a lot from Joe. I now know a lot of things as to why this man is the way he is. But I am in Reading, PA. If you guys do know, Warhouse Gym was here. This is Robin, Dana Lynn Bailey's. This is where they were. This is where they grew up, lived, created who they were. I always went to their camps. I've gone to their camps by myself because, like I said, guys, when I was into the fitness, I was in it. I would go to Kai Green's camps when he used to hold them in New York, and I think he only had 3 ever. I was at all 3 by myself for 2 of them. My one friend went with me the first one. I started doing things by myself because I wanted to just, mingle with people, learn information. I was just absorbing from everything. Well, I became good friends with Rob's brother, Drew. Drew and me always would hit it off. I would always talk to Rob and Dana, always said hi, kept it cordial, right? They were hiring for a job position at Flag Nor Fail. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was making good money at DECA because DECA, it's a manufacturing job. So you're going to get great health insurance. You're going to make great money, right? I was making, I think, $26 an hour plus piece rate. I went to a job interview that was hiring for $10 an hour. I walked into the office, and as soon as I walked in, Drew's first thing out of his mouth was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I was like, "Bro, I'm trying to get a job." He was like, "Bro, I'm not hiring you." He's like, "Dude, you work at DECA. You're making great money. I can't hire you to come here for $10 an hour. You're crazy." And I was like, "Drew, listen, I just want to get my foot in the door here. I just want to be a part of what you guys do here. I know I promise you I won't be doing, printing t-shirts for long, but I just want to get in here." Drew straight up was like, "Listen, bro, I'll keep your application here. If something else comes up, I'll call you. I'll let you know." I was like, "All right, cool." So went off. I still was doing my GAT demos, was working for DECA, still rocking and rolling, right? 6 months later, they held up another job interview because Warhouse Gym was literally opening up. So they were looking for employees. Guess what? There I am again, $10 an hour, front desk. Here I am. Drew literally told me to get out, like laughing. Was like, "Bro, get out of the gym. Like, you're crazy. You ain't getting a job here at the gym." He's like, "Listen, bro, you can't take over a $15 an hour pay cut plus your bonus, and you're not even going to get health benefits here." He's like, "Well, I don't know what you're doing." And I was like, "Listen, Drew, man, I'm in the worst spot of my life. I'm a number. I make good money, but I hate it. I'm dirty. This is not me. This is just not me, bro." I said, "I just need to get in it." And I was like, I've been doing some things with GAT, and I was actually trying to do some demos with them, but that's when they were, doing with their own brand. So of course, that was it. Didn't get the job. Drew didn't hire me, but I was at Warhouse all the time. So, I was familiar with Rob and Dana, would always say hi, always keep it cordial. I was there for their events all the time. I would always pop around. A year later, I was leaving work after a hot ass day. Because in summertime, it's crazy. If it's 90 outside, it's probably a buck 20, a buck 25 inside. I left there and I was just driving home. I get this random phone call. I pick it up. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" It's like, "Yo, it's Drew. What's going on, man?" I'm like, "Drew who?" Like, I didn't even have Drew's number. So I'm like, "Who Drew who?" He's like, "Bro, it's Rob's brother." I'm like, "Oh shit, what's up, man?" He's like, "Where are you at right now?" I said, "I'm literally just leaving DECA, bro. I'm going home to take a shower and I'll be over at the gym." He's like, "Don't go to the gym, man. Come to the warehouse. I want to talk to you about something." I literally didn't even go home. I went right to the warehouse. I ended up meeting with Drew, Austin, Rob, and a guy named Aaron at the time. They were moving the brand from Florida up to PA, and they were taking full control, and they wanted me to literally build their warehouse and run their shipping department. Guys, I quit GAT after 2 years, making pretty good money as a demo rep. And eventually my boss was trying to get me a sales job with GAT because of just how well I was doing for them. After that, I quit DECA for 7.5 years. And for people that know in my area, you quit DECA, you're crazy. It's DECA, Car Tech, or the hospital. That's the 3 biggest jobs in our area. I remember calling my mom that night and telling my mom about it. And my mom was like, hey, listen, worst case scenario, you can always go back. Or you can just move down to Florida with me and you can start over entirely. My dad was like, I can't even tell you how pissed off my dad was. My dad, my grandmother, my friends, a bunch of people were telling me not to do it. A bunch of people were telling me, like, I don't know what the fuck you're thinking. My dad was pretty pissed off. And like, it's one of the moments that I'll never forget. And this will kind of fade in, but I'll come back to my dad in a second. But I ended up quitting everything and I took a $15 an hour job. I busted my ass for them. I never ran a shipping department. I was shipping. I did their inventory, I did their shipping, I did their receiving, I did their product inventory. I did absolutely everything. I would do things and I would work more than anybody could imagine. I knew the type of person Rob was, and I think that's why I feel like I have a lot of things in common with him now. Because Rob works more than I've seen anybody work. And then when I got to meet Joe, you know, uh, Joe works probably the same. It's like there is no 24 hours in a day for these guys. So it almost made me level up as an individual because I emulated Rob at that point. And now with being with Joe, like I've always been behind Joe and watched Joe do incredible things. And now they get to be next to him. I just want to run together with him. And now I work like Joe works. But guys and girls, I busted my ass for Rob for 2 years. Well, I'm sorry, a year and a half in shipping. And it came to a point where literally I would do all my stuff. I'd be done by 12 o'clock. I was mopping floors. I was help printing t-shirts. I was upstairs making sure inventory for Fight or Fail was done for $15 an hour. So this is what I did. And this is where you need to, I feel like people need to take a step sometimes and take control and take a shot. I created work instructions, which is what DECA does, the big manufacturing, right? I created work instructions. I told somebody how to do my entire job. I printed out a 70-page book, laminated it, did the whole thing. I brought it into the meeting on Monday and I put that on the table and I literally told Rob, I said, you can fire me right now, man, and you can hire somebody for $10 an hour to do my job. You'll save yourself a couple $100 a week and literally you can hire somebody right up the street. I need to do something else for you. I can't just sit in here and be done. You're like, I'm just useless to you. And I'm not even providing a value that you're paying me for. Rob was kind of speechless. That meeting ended. He came out and talked to me personally and let me do demos because that's what I was always familiar with. And he was like, go do demos around PA and just create some sales. He's like, and if you create 5,000, we'll talk. Well, your boy hit 5,000 that month. He then, in that next meeting that next week, he told me I was taking sales over for PA New Jersey because since we ended up taking full control of the brand, we had no sales reps and no nothing. So I was the sales rep for PA New Jersey and I was super ecstatic. I was like, I'm going to New Jersey. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to do 10 grand because that was my next threshold. Well, we did not do 10 grand in Jersey. All right. Because, products, all that fun stuff is what it is. But I still hit my 10 grand that month. I had some people help me out. I had my actual store that I do now own. They did good business with me and it was great. That was on a Monday. By Friday, I will never forget, I was across the warehouse and Rob came out of the corner of that room and he told me I was done shipping. I am now the national sales manager for the entire company. I will be running international. I'll be doing sales like at an office and everything else. I have no fucking experience in sales. I never went to school for sales. I never went and had any classes. Only thing I know is to take care of people, create relationships with people. That's how I've always been. And just know what I'm selling. And make sure some people can make some money. And that was my first step into actually doing sales. And I got to have some incredible help through the years. My buddy Mike with GAT took me and him did so many road trips together. But from that point on, which is now 6.5 years ago, 7 years ago, which is with Run Everything and now coming into AD, those relationships that I have built have now come to fruition in most incredible times.
I think that
But
you've just gone over so many points, man, that
it's
like
crazy, bro.
you've just got to like for people to realize there's a lot that you've covered that needs pointing out. The reason me and Joey have such a unique and very special relationship, it's almost like we've lived a very similar life, just at staggered periods.
Mhm.
Because what Joey's just explained and been through is exactly the same as I kind of went through. getting into the industry. I went through university. I designed all my products to start my own brand. When I was in first year of university, I sourced all raw materials, all packaging from China. I had everything set. And I actually met a mentor by chance when I was in the gym back home. And he just happened to run the biggest online sports nutrition retailer in the UK. I spent every single weekend in that store, every single day of vacation in that store. My parents, my mom, my dad was, why are you wasting your time? He's not paying you. Why are you wasting your time? You're not paying you. Wasting your time, wasting your time, wasting your time. Well, I ended up consulting for that company in my final year of university, doing tooling agreements in China and importing product from China for them while I was still a full-time student. And leaving university, I was given a full-time job to run the whole purchasing for that company, which got me all my links in the US because they were the bodybuilding.com of the UK. Reason I'm telling you this is because, one, yes, it's synergies with Joey, but we both backed ourselves and invested time in something we believed in and something that we're passionate about. And this is why I kind of wanted to hold back Joey up a little bit, because he's just gone over so many things that's going to go over people's heads if you don't realize that, guys, the only way to get anywhere is if you invest in yourselves. Like, you will get nowhere if you don't back yourself. Like, it's literally building relationships once you get in there. And Joey was just like, literally, I worked every weekend. I worked 7 days a week. I was in that office more than the owner of the company. Joey did the same. When you get an opportunity, guys, you've got to go the extra mile. You've got to do the things you don't get paid for. If your intention of going into a workplace is to do the bare minimum or to do your set hours, guess what? You're never going to go anywhere. I own a company. I know what I look for.
Yep.
Joey got a job with me, not because of his sales record with Run Everything, not because he's got a degree, not because of a piece of paper, because that guy came up to me at the Arnold Classic and introduced himself, shook my hand, and was very professional. I remember that moment. You are your own business card.
Yeah, for
Every
real.
single
Yeah.
day of the year, you are your own business card. You do not know who you're going to meet. Joey knew who I was. He was a fan of the brand. And he took time to walk over to the other side of the corridor where I was passing by, stop me, shake my hand, introduce himself. I remembered that face. I watched what he did. And when we needed someone, guess what? He was the guy that I went to. And there's a reason why he's progressing in the company. There's a reason why he's with me with everything. There's a reason why he's going to be my business partner. It's because he goes the extra mile and I don't even have to ask him. So guys, just to back all that up, if you're into bodybuilding, if you're into
It's
business,
everything, bro.
whatever
Yeah.
it is, you've got to go the extra mile. You've got to do that little bit extra because guess what? It's competitive out there. And for you to get noticed, you've got to do something that these other motherfuckers are not doing.
Because everybody
So,
wants everybody wants the easy, like an easy explanation, or everybody, like, they're looking for somebody just to tell them, how do I get there, or what do I do? Because I had people that asked me, like, bro, how did you get here? And it's like, you don't have almost enough time for me to tell you. And in reality, some of the ways that I got here, like Joe said, it isn't by a degree. Like, I got here at AD because I was busting my ass at the Arnold, and I literally was packing things up and went to the other side to, like, just going and seeing Joe and Shanique and Johnny. And, like, I didn't get this job at AD because I was crushing sales or everybody knew me. I got this because of my initial reaction and whatever. Like I said, like, all I know is I seen Joe, I shook his hand. I have no idea what else happened. I don't even remember. I have no idea. That's how I got here at AD. So, like,
that's
that.
how Joey entered AD. And the reason why he's
Yep.
progressed, the guy who was above him, he took his job.
Yep.
Because Joey is someone who you can invest in. Like, I'm really good at one thing. I don't give myself credit for many things, but I'm really good at one thing. That's identifying potential and seeing potential in people and where their skill sets lie. And the moment that I got to know Joey is I knew that I could invest my time in him. I could help, I could educate him. And not he would just listen, he would absorb that like a sponge and he would implement that day in, day out. He's the most teachable person I've probably ever had the pleasure to meet. And that's why he's doing what he's doing. I mean, I do coach him through his bodybuilding, but I mean, half the stuff he does himself now, because I'll tell him once and it will stick, you know. And for any of you guys who want to progress, you've got to be a sponge and you've got to like be consistent day in, day out. And I don't care which fucking business mentor I'm going to lose my shit a little bit here because I get really ticked off with all these fucking business motivation speeches. Everyone who's doing all the conferences, you pay your ticket, you go and you fucking beat your chest and hurrah, and we're doing great at doing this. You're laying jack shit. Those guys did not get to the top by working a 4 hour day. Like
Hell
everyone
no.
who gets to the top, everyone who's successful, busted their fucking asses to get there. And anyone who tells you any different is trying to sell you a dream that ain't going to come reality.
You got you got that right. Because I'll tell you what, I say like how I worked at DECA 6 days a week for 8 hours. I don't know. I know a lot of people know I do a lot of stuff, but I know nobody knows how much I work. I work so much sometimes that Joe will get pissed off and will tell me to shut my phone off and to detach myself. One, because of burning myself out, but two, he knows what he's experienced. He knows where he has done in business, and he doesn't want me to go down that road into in the positions of burning yourself out and whatnot. For me to be in the position that I am in, I haven't had a Sunday in 3 years. I haven't. I work every single Sunday. Because of coaching, I put all that stuff on Sundays. Now coaching is Saturday and Sundays. But my Monday through Friday is AD, it's my store. For me to be where I am at, there is no it's funny, I was even talking to my one buddy last night about it. I was like, there is no downtime. I'm like, because like I've never been and this year in 2023, guys, this year was massive. And like where it's going, like this is actually a whole new learning curve for me, which is cool to actually tell you guys because I am giving you examples as to where I've come, and I will always be able to give, examples, recommendations, tips, tools, all that fun stuff. But like now, it's cool because we're starting this podcast as well as I will be growing through this podcast. So, like me saying that, it's like, I've gotten these opportunities and I've grown and I've now been here at AD and I've now been able to, it's the same thing across the board. Like my coaching is grown because, yes, I produce results. Yes, I've won overalls. Yes, I have pro cards on the team, which if you're winning, people want to be a part of somebody's winning. People can love me all day. They can love who I am. They can appreciate me as a coach. If I'm not winning, I'm not getting clients. That just is a pure sample. So I've grown that way. My store has done its things. I've done business in my store, which we can get into later. But like it's all about growing. And I promise you, like Joe said, you can go pay to go to a business speaking event. And yeah, you're gonna pay your $300, whatever it is, and you're gonna leave there motivated. Motivated. You don't understand what you're doing. You don't know how to do it because nobody can actually physically tell you what to do. Because life, I don't feel as if a blueprint. Businesses are not a blueprint. And I know that. I've had experience that of like things don't go all the way things are planned. But when we sit here and we tell you that like you really need to invest in yourself and invest in what you're doing, I shit you not. Because you could have where I am at right now. Like I just got to finally do my own product in this brand. Like I've never fucking even thought of that. But like would if you would have told me I would have did that when I started here with this brand, I would have said, of course not. I'm not going to be able to make my own product here. If you told me what I was going to be doing in this company, I would have never told you that. But my first year when I traveled almost like 8 months out of the year, my first year when I used to do events from state to state and sleep in my car at rest stops because I couldn't get a hotel because it made no sense because I had to be at the next state in a couple hours. It did not matter because the hustle doesn't always have to be showcased. The hustle doesn't have to be always rewarded because like I was getting rewarded by a job. Did it mean like, oh, well, I did sales, did I get more money? Yeah, because of what we were, but like, did I move up through? It's like, no, like I have grown and I've built myself, and Joe has helped me grow with just giving me, it's like he's my big brother, man. Like he pushes me forward, tells me what to do, and like lets me go. And I've done that over and over and over. And it's got me into being in this position where like I get to be fortunate enough to stand next to this man, not stand behind him like I was for many years. And I think it's a big takeaway for you guys because these things that we want to tell you and these things that we're going to go over in these podcasts, like these are things that you need to digest and you need to apply them into your own life because not everybody is doing what we're doing in the fitness industry. You could be a doctor, you could be a truck driver, you could do all these types of things. And in the world that we are in, like Joe said, it is super competitive. Super competitive. Like,
And the one thing you're going to get from us guys is we're going to be real with you. We are going
yep.
to just tell you how it is. Like you can go on to my Instagram, you can go on my social media, and you think, oh, this guy's got a really, really good life. Look at this. He's traveling here. He's doing that. He's releasing products. He's with this athlete. He's training here. He's training there. Guys, fucking Instagram ain't real. I slept in my car nearly half a year for the first, God knows, 5 years of owning this company. I couldn't afford a hotel when I launched in the AD in the USA. I would sleep in my car. I slept in motels where I would check in and they would ask me how many hours I would want the room for. You weren't going there to sleep, guys, if you didn't get that. You were going there to hire a room for a few hours. I was the only guy who was meant to be, I was sleeping there. Now, granted, I would sleep on top of the bed. I don't want to get in that damn thing, and I was fully clothed. But my point in telling you all this stuff is just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Like, I've done so much shit that I will be able to share with you guys, and you're like, wow, we had no idea. But because we don't need to, because it's not about who's worked the hardest or who's had the hardest journey. That's just part of the course. If you guys can't accept that, you're gonna have to like suck it up and suffer. And yeah, it's gonna be fucking shit half the time. And if you even ask me now, would I go and do all this again? I'd probably scratch my head and go, actually, I don't know, because 15 years is a long time, and there's been a lot. I mean, I put my body through the ringer. I will go
yeah.
into some of the personal stuff in future podcasts. It's going to come up and all the health stuff. And the reason why I've learned so much is from fixing myself and the health issues, which has come from, building this goddamn company. But you know what? It's like the joy and the happiness I get from building this company now is sharing it with the people and building a team and like seeing people with potential excel. Watching Joey develop is like one of the most dearest things to my heart right now. This is what I love. Building products, building things, but building people. If you're going to leave any impression on the world, then it's going to be the impact that you leave with the people, on people that you leave behind.
Amen.
It's not the money in the bank. It's going to be the people and the impression you leave on people's lives. So it's like, there's a lot to take in from this, but
Sure is.
the one thing I want you all to realize is that when you're scrolling through social media, you're seeing the highlight reel, and half of it's fucking fake anyway, because it'll be a hired car, it'll be well, just go and follow Goob, you'll find out.
Yeah.
Goob
Yeah,
gets
right.
broken half of it
Yeah.
anyway. Shout out to Goob. But it's not real, guys. And if you're coming into the fitness industry thinking that it's all rainbows and unicorns, it's a dogfight out there. It's a
It really
dogfight if you
is.
want to be compete because it's competitive. It's a dogfight in business. Everything in life is going to be a dogfight because it's competitive, and it's got even more competitive with the advent of social media because there's so much more access to information and people can just knock off whatever you're doing. People can knock it off. It's easy.
Yep.
So suck it
But
up,
this, yep.
essentially, and be prepared to work harder than the person sat next to you. Because if you can't look at the person next to you and say, I'm really going to fucking outwork you, chances are you're going to get outworked by the person sat next to you, or the person sat next to you on that side, or the person in the other room.
Yep.
You've always got to be, again, going back to levels, you always got to level up. If I go into a room and I'm the smartest person in that room, I know it's a cliche, but I don't want to be in that room. I always try and put myself in environments where I'm uncomfortable or where I can learn something. I mean, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, I was in Tampa. I was sat in a room full of 12 people. One of the guys got a PhD at 17 or 18, something ridiculous. I left that room and they all wanted me to come back 4 weeks later. And that was like the biggest like motivator for me, because I've sat with some of the most intelligent people in the medical world, not the fitness industry, it's in the medical,
Yeah,
in a
medical field.
medical setting, and being invited back and then welcomed into that circle, which there's going to be more to come from that, because we're doing things with this company that are way beyond fitness. But
Yeah,
that's for another time. The whole point is putting yourself around people that can improve you, and I've got to set the standard and keep leveling up myself so I can develop Joey, so I can develop the other people in my team. And if I can't do it, then we're going to find people who can, you know.
that's it.
So, messages, guys, get comfortable with being comfortable.
Literally, as easy as you can say it. And that's why 2023 was such a big, that's why I feel like 2023 is what, like, how we began this podcast with explaining it. Why getting uncomfortable, being uncomfortable is literally what I feel like I could put in parentheses next to 2023. We have gone through so much in facts of as us here just as a company, and as well as so much shit that I've been through. The company has gone
Well, I
through a
think
lot of
I've got
crazy
one thing to
shit.
touch on, man. Like before we do go, because we're running a long time, we haven't even touched on one of the proudest moments of the year 2023, and that
Yeah.
is your competitive season. So around 18 months ago, Joey shot me a message. He's like, "Hey, man, can you take a quick look at my nutrition and stuff? Because I'm not really happy with this blood work. Like, I'm not really fussed about competing. I just want to be healthy. My blood work's not quite where I want it to be. Do you mind having a look?" I'm like, "Of course, I'll have a look. Like, let's get you fixed up." Anyway, like 4 or 5 weeks later, we've completely cleaned up that blood work. I mean, I was like, "Damn, that's an easy fix." And we just continue from there. So without really any aspirations set on competing, it's just like, hey, if it happens, it happens. Joey being Joey was Mr. Consistent, and I used to coach at a very high level. I had prepped Olympians before. I was one in 2013-14, like the main go-to coach for a period in the UK. I had all the best athletes in the UK. I stopped coaching because AD got too busy, and I was just traveling so much. It was too much, and the amount of time I invest in prepping an athlete, I can't really take on more than 10 people anyway at a time. Joey's checked in every single day for 18 months. I had one natural girl called Claire Banks. We actually won the British Championships with her, which is like nationals for you guys over here, in figure, as a natural competitor. She was ex-military. 18 months, she checked in every single morning at 5 a.m. If I was traveling in the USA, I would stay up to do her check-in photos because she was giving me that much effort. But the reason I'm telling you that is because Joey was so consistent and checking in, we managed to take him from let's fix his blood work to, okay, well, let me fix your blood work. We're healthy. Well, I can keep you healthy. I think we can develop that physique of yours.
Hmm.
And oh boy, did we develop that physique even beyond what I thought we could potentially do, because I didn't account for how consistent Joey could be and how committed to something that Joey could be. Not just like going in the gym, training, or sticking to his diet, but everything I would tell him or teach him when we'd have time together in the gym. Like, I'd work with athletes before and I'd like set them up on a movement or move them slightly so they get better activation. And, they do it for a couple of workouts and they lose it. Well, I showed Joey once and he's done it for like 18 months consistently. And it's just like, it completely paid off. So, I mean, we went from, we'll actually try and insert some pictures in here because it's just mind blowing. They're all on Instagram, but we'll try and insert some here. I don't know the amount of tissue that we added over 18 months, but he competed. Was it Joey? I'm going to let you tell the story. 2 years ago, was it?
Yep.
170 something
Yeah,
pounds.
competed in 2019 was my first show. I was 172 pounds in middleweight bodybuilding, and once I got into that show and did that, and I won middleweights. I won the first in my class there. I won the bodybuilding novice. I won that. Um, Kind of after that show, I honestly didn't really think that I could ever do bodybuilding because I didn't believe really in myself, and like seeing what I look like on stage, I was like, well, I look pretty good, but like I don't have it what it takes. I just don't. So then, from 2019 to now 2023, I did my own diet, did my own nutrition. Like I rock and rolled through everything each and every year. Like I still live and breathe this. Like even if I don't ever compete, guys, like I will forever do this because I love it, right? And Joe took Joe took me over, and I have the beginning pictures. I'll never forget in these orange boxers. I just fucking, you would never ever think that I would remotely even look what I do now. And I say it time and time again, and especially now that I'm sitting the way I'm sitting now, I don't even think it's my body anymore. And I know that's kind of crazy to even think, but like I don't even understand how, what, why I even look this way and how things turned out. But I was 172 pounds in 2019, and I was 196 pounds the morning of the show. I literally went from, where I was at in middleweights to now going into the Big Cat Classic, which I did the Big Cat same time in 2019. So I told Joe, I was like, I want to do that same show in 2023, just because it's at the end of the year. My coaching, business, everything gets we can go all crazy in the beginning of the year and kind of little dies down a little bit. So it takes a little bit of stuff off my plate. So I came into this Big Cat, um, and this show held more value to me than anything. I ended up going into this show, and I remember me and Joe would talk all the time, and would tell Joe, I'm winning this fucking show, and I'm winning this overall. And Joe's like, listen, man, let's just get in this show. Let's win your class. Let's get you qualified. This is just a stepping stone. You don't have to win the whole thing. I'd always remember him saying, I would tell him every time, like, no, bro, I'm winning this show. This show means more to me than anything in the world right now. I said it to Joe. I was like, listen, bro, this means more to me than turning pro. Which, like, now that I like won that show, it's like, oh hell no! Like, I want to turn pro more than anything. But I uh, I wanted to win this Big Cat so much because one, I could look at myself in the mirror and I could be utterly like proud of myself and how I looked. I can tell you, I know girls go through this. Girls always go through it. That's why all you girls get Botox, eye extensions, lip extensions, button sections, all the type of extensions. You want to look and you want to be proud with what you see in that mirror. Joe and myself have we worked so hard that I would pose and like I would I just I have I would be shocked at what I'm seeing. And I hold Joe's opinion more higher than, like, I call Joe my big brother, but Joe is almost like multiple things in my life. And you know,
Sometimes
ain't
he's an
trying
asshole as well, by the way.
to
Very big asshole sometimes.
and that's why, like, literally me and Joe like call each other family, because we have those big brother beefs. But like Joe and how I treat Joe and how Joe is to me, um Joe's like a father figure to me in certain points, because like Joe's opinion and Joe's praise means more to me than anything in this world. And I know it's kind of weird saying this over a podcast while Joe's there, but like it really is. I've cried multiple times, even by a voice note that Joe will send me, just tell me how proud he is of me. I've cried multiple times, just even when Joe tells me that, like, you don't even know where you're going, man, or like, look at how crazy you look. Like, he doesn't. I don't even think he understands like how much that means to me. And when I finally came into this show, I remember telling Joe 2 weeks before the show, because Joe was going through some shit, and I could be on the phone with him and was kind of just letting him vent and kind of going through some personal shit. I told him I was going to win that overall. I told him that. I didn't even care who was in my class. Doesn't even matter. I'm winning the overall. I don't care who's in my class. And between Joe and how big this show meant to me, my mom came up from Florida, and my mom doesn't have no money. She doesn't. I know she's going to see this and she's going to hate me for saying it, but I don't give a shit. My mom has no money. My mom works 7 days a week just to get by. My dad was a massive alcoholic for 30 years of my life. Ever since I've been born, my dad's always been an alcoholic. He's always had drinks nonstop. He wasn't fucked up in life, because even though my dad was an alcoholic, I think a lot of like a piece of me definitely came from my dad with the hustle. Because there was a point in time where my dad, he did raise me, and my dad was my dad, and my dad was also my mom. And my dad was one of the hardest fucking people to live with, one of the hardest people to just be around. Just because I think he was just trying to do everything that he didn't know how to do, but he was just trying to do it to the best of his ability. My dad, on that show day, that Friday before my show, my dad was 1 year sober. I don't know if you and people will never know, and I still, like, what I mean. I never know, because even though my dad was ever into drinking, like, I don't really drink. I have maybe just some tequila here and there, a glass of wine, whatever, but I don't really drink. I don't think we really know how hard that is for people to get over. That accomplishment is huge. And I'll never forget that I told my dad that, like, my dad was 1 year sober, and I was the main reason as to why my dad did that. And I told my dad that Friday was the day that he gave me a gift that I could never say thank you enough for. But then I told him on Saturday I would put an overall trophy in his hand, because I wanted to give him something back. Guys, when I went into that show, everybody else, people were probably just thinking, well, Joey's going to that show, he wants to win. I wanted to win, but I wanted to win in front of my team. I wanted to win in front of my mother. I wanted to win in front of my friends that came to support me. I wanted to win in front of my dad, and I wanted to win in front of Joe. You understand why I had my dad, you understand why everything, but I won that damn show because in reality, Joe said, like he said, he's been coaching for years, he doesn't do it no more. That day, like Joe says to me, he never forgets how I was at the Arnold. I'll never forget when I hugged my dad and I was crying, and I said, and what's up to some people, and there were so many of my team and people around. Joe was all the way in the back of the corner of the room, sitting on the table, just watching. I pushed through everybody and went right over to Joe. That is the biggest smile I've ever seen on that man's face. And that was the most enjoyment I've seen out of Joe in fucking 5 years. I don't know if it was that moment. I don't know if it's the moment of 5 years. I don't know if it's the moment of just how his man has grown and how we've grown together. But now it's a thing where, I'm going to do everything I can in this world to do what I got to do for this man. I'm going to win a pro card. I'm going to be a pro athlete for this company. I don't care how long it takes me. Hopefully I smack some shit here in 2024, but I don't really care how long it takes me. I will forever be consistent, like all you guys need to be. I didn't compete from 2020, 2021, 2022. Didn't matter. I was still doing what I had to do. But then when Joe came on and agreed to do what he did for me, there's nothing more than I could do than give myself and give my all. And literally, I left that 2023 with winning the overall, with being the overall classic physique champion, winning my B class, which was the biggest class in that show. And now I have my first ticket to nationals. And I'll tell you time and time again, I always thought I was going to just be the coach. And all my athletes know that I want them to turn pro, because that's when I win. If they win, I win. They lose, I lose. But now, I do believe in myself. I believe in Joe. I believe in what we're doing. I believe in everything possible. And now, I'm going to go and do things that I could only thought I could dream of. Because I'm going to invest. I'm going to give it my time. I'm going to give it my all. And above all, I believe in it. And man, did we shut this fucking year out with a banger. A win in front of everybody.
And just to round out this first episode, guys, that weekend was special for so many reasons. And yeah, Joey kind of elaborated on it. But yeah, there was a hell of a lot of stress going on at that particular time with the business, but the pressure
Yep.
of seeing how much that show meant to Joey and how much he needed to win that show for himself and then for his family. It was there was a lot of pressure, and to see everything come together. Not to go on to harp onto this for too long, because there's actually videos and stuff on this. I want you to go and watch the YouTube videos of like the highlight reel from the shows of him checking in, and we're doing some of the posing and some of his nutrition stuff. But the Friday morning, I went out to make some calls, and I looked at Joey and I gave him his 2 meals. I was like, "You're gonna look fucking crazy after these 2 meals, dude. I'm going out to make some calls. I'll be back in about an hour and a half." I come back from those calls and look at him. I was like, "Okay, strip off. Let's take a look at you." And he just starts. He's bursting full. His shoulders are completely capped. He's looked like 5 pounds heavier than when I went out, drier and harder. I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much what I expected." He looked in the mirror. I won't forget. He said he wouldn't forget my face. I remember seeing his face when he looked in the mirror, and he was like, "The fuck is that?" I'm like, that was the moment that I knew, like, we've got this show, because his body was doing exactly what I needed it to do. I knew that it would do, and that's when the moments really started to click. And that was moving food sources, really. Find out what worked for him. We pulled out some red meat and used some different sauces. I ain't going to go into all that. Like, nutrition's my thing, and I'll fucking bore you with that stuff in plenty in the future. But that was like the key point in that. But the reason I'm going back onto that weekend is because I want to leave this podcast with what's about to come next. Saturday, Joey won the show. The Sunday morning, he went out to grab some bits with Sarah to the grocery store. His significant other, his support network, and our very own projectAD athlete manager and marketing manager. She's someone else who has got amazing potential, and she does not know how far she can go in the business world. Watch out for her, because she's a sleeper. She's going to do some crazy shit this next year. She's a special one, so watch out for her. She'll be doing some cool shit. He went out to the grocery store, and I made a couple of calls, and then he came back in. I was looking for a pen and paper, but I couldn't find it. So I found some kitchen roll and a
which
biro,
in
a
which
pen.
in which in the U.S. paper towels.
Okay, kitchen roll, paper towels. So I'm like, Joey really wants to do this pre-workout thing. So I start scribbling down, put a formula down. He comes back in. He's like, "By the way, Joey, what do you think to this?" And he looks like, "What the hell's this?" I'm like, "Looks like a pretty good formula, doesn't it?" He's like, "Yeah, that looks pretty crazy." It's like, "Anything else you'd like in there? Anything missing?" He's like, "Maybe could we maybe do this? Could we maybe do that?" I was like, "Why?" He's like, "We're going to make you pre-workout, dude." And I'm just going to leave it there because we have some fun stuff coming up. That weekend was the best of
Everything.
Joey's first product, and we're going to go into that whole process. But that weekend was special for so many reasons, and that's what's really queued us up for 2024. And it's all coming from the strength of our relationship, the trust and the investment in each other. And guys, you need to find people who back you in life. You've got to invest in yourself, but you've also got to identify people that you can invest time in. And if you make those right moves, then you're going to have a very bright and successful future.
Yeah, man. That's a
See
given
you
right
next
there.
episode.
That's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been awesome. I can't wait for y'all to follow more. We'll get this all set up. Like it. You're going to do the subscribe button. You're going to hit the bell. You're going to do all the same stuff everybody already knows. But please tune in. Like I said, we're going to be going in. We want to just keep this first episode a little bit introduction about myself. You know, don't worry. I'm going to be introducing Joe and letting you tell all his crazy stories, where he came from, and all the wild jobs he's had. But thank you guys for tuning in. It's been an actual incredible experience, and we can't wait to keep showing some really fun stuff. And hopefully, you guys take everything you can from these episodes.